I had a case one time when I was doing sexual assault cases where a woman was assaulted. She got pregnant as a result of the assault, and she had to figure out if that was a result of the perpetrator or her own relationship with her husband. And so she had to make her own difficult decision. And she made the decision, and it was actually her husband's. You know, one of the things I talk about a lot is if we cannot recognize the human toll of crime in our policies and our laws, then we're failing.
I was in court more than once where people went to trial and lost because the evidence showed that they committed the crime. It was a relatively small amount of rock cocaine, crack cocaine, and the judge and myself were fairly powerless. You know, the defense attorney would often come up with whatever arguments to get less than 10 years for their clients. Their clients could be in the early 20s. They might be single parents, you know, with not much involvement. And then all of a sudden the judge was having to issue a 10-year sentence, and it's a federal sentence, so you're going to serve roughly 85% of that in federal prison. That was harsh. I've been on all sides of the courtroom. I was a judge's clerk. I was a prosecutor. I was a U.S. Assistant Attorney General running the tax division at the U.S. Department of Justice. And I've also been a defense attorney for 20 years. You know, if you've just been a prosecutor your whole life, it's hard to see the world from a defense or a defendant's point of view. If you've only been a defense lawyer your whole life, it's very hard to see it from a prosecutor's view. And if you've been neither, good luck in trying to figure out the criminal justice system in the state of California on the fly.
Anne-Marie Schubert has been fighting these issues not since the day I announced my election, but since the day I became the DA. Let's talk about early release. I've been writing letters to my office since 2015 on these issues, saying, you know, here's what's going on, here's what his or her history is, here's why we are opposed to this, this person is still dangerous. So the difference between Anne-Marie Schubert and Rob Bonta and George Gascon and Chesa Bodine is I'm a real prosecutor, first and foremost. Listen, there's a small percentage of folks that are the drivers of violent crime. So we've got to be willing to partner with law enforcement across the state to go out there proactively, you know, and target the most dangerous people to make sure they don't have guns. We are in a crisis of not just of people that have guns that shouldn't have guns, particularly felons, and people that are subject to restraining orders. So it means that I'm going to do everything in my power working with law enforcement across the state, both DOJ and the hundreds, if not more, police agencies across California.
Right now, the California Department of Justice is allocated millions of dollars. In fact, the budget for going after these type of guns from prohibited persons has only gone up over the years. I'd spend the money. I'd spend the money wisely. I have no idea why they're not spending every penny that they're getting for this purpose to go get the guns from prohibited persons. Could it have stopped the Sacramento shooting? Who knows? We don't know exactly how that's going to play out. But would everyone across the political spectrum appreciate that prohibited persons no longer have a particular gun? Yes. Yes, I do support online sports betting. I believe bringing this out into the open and having stuff that is otherwise going, a multi-billion-dollar industry that's existed below ground, bring it above ground, let California be one of the leaders in this field, properly regulated, properly licensed, properly taxed. There's also provisions that have been built into the law dealing with people who get addicted.
I support the tribes in their sovereign authority to control the gaming. You know, California has a long history with tribes and granting them that sovereignty and that right to do tribal gaming. And I think that out-of-state big old corporations coming on here to take away their business is something that I don't agree with.
The reason I became a Republican are the values that the party espouses. It's the party of Lincoln. It's the party of Roosevelt, Teddy. It's the party of Ronald Reagan, and the party, like any party, has issues with it. And I viewed myself as someone who could work within the party, who has, especially when it comes to the issues I'm most concerned about for this race, safety and security, a party that backs what I've backed.
I just made a decision in 2018, not because I'm mad at a party or not mad at a party, but I'm fed up with the politics of it all. And I wanted to be authentic to the position. Public safety is not, nor should it be, it's not a red versus blue team. And I think even in today's climate, especially when you're starting to see this momentum of recalls of Gascon or Bodine, that this is about public safety. And so for me, I just wanted to be authentic to me as a person and me as a professional. And I am perfectly content running as an NPP.